Hello, and welcome everyone to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. We are thrilled that you are joining us on a Thanksgiving week here in America. And my special guest is not from America, and I can't wait to speak to her. But before we jump in and talk to Gloria Masters, we are going to start this. I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now. And we are back. Welcome everyone again, and welcome Gloria. Gloria, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so at the moment I am an author, I am a speaker, and I head a charity here in New Zealand called Handing the Shame Back. And that is dedicated to the survivors of child sexual abuse across the world.
Fantastic. So many people suffer, and your organization is a place of healing and of safety where, if people have suffered through this, tell us a little bit about how this organization can help them.
So I'm very grateful, April, to have amazing guests, not looking at you, who come on the show and they feel healed enough to tell their story. And the gift of that is that for other survivors watching, they feel less alone. And some of what they hear may actually be a moment of recognition and solidarity. So I love the YouTube channel I run, also called Handing the Shame Back, because to me it's a safe place to land.
Yes, in that safety, and when we know we're not the only one who has suffered through awful things, there's a power, there's a comfort, and there is a guide. So everyone who is now joining us, we want to welcome Gloria Masters. And as an author, we have here running on the ticker underneath how you can contact her. And she actually has 3 books, and we're going to talk a little bit about her first book tonight, On Angels' Wings. So share a little bit about how that title came about.
Sure. So this is my first book. This is a memoir, April, and it details the first 16 years of my life. And I was child sex trafficked and horrendously sexually, psychologically, and physically abused. The On Angel's Wings, my flight from trauma to grace, came about because I used to see angels during those 16 years and feel less alone.
Wow. In feeling a sense of comfort while the world around you is just terrible, how did you form a trust with your angels?
Well, interestingly, very sadly actually, I had no one living who cared. And so my father was the one who trafficked me and made a great deal of money out of me. It was my grandmother, his mother, who taught me how to become the best child sex worker I could be. And along all of that, I built the trust with my angels because I couldn't trust a living person, because they were either in on it or denied it ever happened. And that included my mother, which meant it was a very lonely, sad time. And I'm very lucky to be alive within those 16 years. You know, there were things like I featured in over 100 child sexual abuse materials, videos. The police tell me they are in the United States. I also performed in many on-stage and off-stage acts with other children and adults who were willing to pay for the power over me in terms of the abuse. So to say that I'm very grateful to have come out of this alive is an understatement.
That horrific time and meeting with other children, knowing that they are also within powerless, can't move forward. And you say up until age 16. So what happened after that?
So after that, my life was an absolute chaotic disaster. And as you would expect, you cannot go through 16 years of that trauma and feel normal or sane or that life is worth living. So I did all the at-risk things that someone that traumatized would do. I hung out with the wrong people. I drank too much. I had many inappropriate relationships. But really, underneath it all, April, I was searching for me. Who am I? Because you see, if you can imagine, I had to put a mask on for those 16 years and be the person people wanted me to be. And the pedophiles, both men and women, would pay more money if I was happy and complicit and, looked as though it was enjoyable to me. So I was heavily drugged as well. And I think that for me, those next 16 years were pretty tough. But as it does, it came to me when I was 32 and I'd had my second child, and I realized it's time
And what was it time for?
to face into this. So I didn't want to, April, you would have given me the gold medal for resistance.
Wow.
I was too scared. You see, I was having nightmares, I was having flashbacks, and I was terrified with what I was seeing and feeling. And so I didn't want to face into it, but my mind was ready to deal. And so I began.
And was writing a part of that healing for you?
I would write at night, but it wasn't my memoir. I wrote my memoir and published that 3 years ago. But yes, that was also very cathartic as well.
Right.
Yeah.
There is something of getting it out of your mind and looking at
Yes.
it over there.
Yes.
And you can kind of face the demon when it's outside of your head because it's over there and you have more power. You can even rip it up if you want. There's a lot of difference there. And so going on from this first book, you then wrote a book called Flight Path to Healing. And so share a little bit about this book.
So this is a guide for child sexual abuse survivors, and it basically written from a survivor's perspective, but it basically takes you through the commonalities we as survivors experience. So I mentioned a couple. Flashbacks, hypervigilance is another one, dissociation, that sense of feeling alone or isolated. Excuse me, April.
No problem.
Yeah, so there are quite a few commonalities we as survivors experience. And I guess for me, I felt that if I'd had a book like this I could look at and use as a tool, it would be really powerful for me to have had that. So it's divided into sections, and the first part of each section talks from my perspective as a child and how I used writing actually in one of those as a healing modality. And then again, as an adult in my 30s when I was actively in the recovery phase. So,
Wow.
yeah. So things like writing and exercise and meditation and friends and fun and sport, all of those things have a chapter donated to them. Then other sections of the book look at healing modalities, and for some of us, that can encompass spirituality. It can also encompass Reiki or therapeutic massage. It can also encompass talking therapy or support groups. So I list all of those, and you have throughout the book, it's a working guide, so you can write in it. But then at the end, you create your own flight path. And it's designed, yes, it's designed so that as you boarded the plane or as you opened the book, your boarding pass was waiting for you.
That's beautiful. A flight out of that personal hell, a flight out of a situation you had no control, a flight out to a place that holds promise. That
Yes.
is really a very empowering type of a book. And so that's incredible. If you guys can go ahead and take a look at, again, running on the ticker underneath, these books are available on her website as well as on Amazon. And we wanted to, while we have some time here, to talk about her third book. Yes, Gloria is amazing. We'll just keep saying that over and over here. So,
Gloria's not arguing.
so share a little bit about this particular book.
Well, it's interesting, and thank you so much for including this. It's interesting, April, because this is a book we've now come full circle. We had my story, which was horror for 16 years. We then had a guide for survivors, and we've come back now to a prevention tool. If we'd had those types of resources available, kids could have been saved, including me. So I think that's where we've come to, and that book is called Keeping Kids Safe, and it's a roadmap for parents, teachers, and others. Yes. And so what that book does is it has 10 sections to it, and each of those is divided into core areas. For instance, the first one is on child sexual abuse. You could be forgiven for thinking people know what that is. Actually, there's a lot of levels and layers to it. There's physical sexual abuse, there's non-physical sexual abuse, there's 3 different types of predators. There's things like intrafamilial abuse, there's things like extrafamilial abuse, there's things like institutional abuse. So it's around educating people out there about what this is and what this looks like. At the end of each chapter, so that's one chapter, the second chapter is on grooming, because we know grooming, I call it the 4-prong approach. Grooming is the child, the parents, the community, and society. And sometimes it's the parents that were groomed and not really the child, because this predator was so skilled at what he or she was doing. The parents thought this was a safe person. They felt flattered by their attention. They felt they could trust this person, so they gave a child to that person. That's one example. At the end of each chapter, April, is a checklist. And again, it's a working book. Or if you get the audio version, I've got a printed off companion guide. And in that checklist are all the things I've mentioned in the chapter, but it might be that you as a parent decide, oh, that first, second, fifth, and 10th item are the ones I'm going to work on. So you'll tick those.
Fantastic. In a prevention, that really is empowering and getting it out to teachers, to parents, to people who work with children, can be that extra layer of protection and safety, because we really, it, within an innocent mind, a child is innocent, and you should have instincts that want to protect and provide and not exploit and shame. And in this craziness of the world and all of this confusion where you have partial truths and mixing things up and definitions being changed and rights given to predators and just a ton of worldwide chaos, we have to kind of go behind the scenes and protect within our own community, within our own family, because you can't rely on society to openly do this. It comes back to the family. It comes back to the parents. It comes back to the child itself. So I am connected with another amazing woman, and her name is Kathy Studer, and she also has a prevention book series to help with kids to know that it's okay. If you don't want to hug that person, you have the right to say no. You can draw your boundary right there. And that is powerful for a child to know that they can say no and stop. And there's companions within the book as well to help teach parents. So it just seems like this, your guide of keeping kids safe, is a huge step forward. So I'm wondering, how has been the response with this book?
Well, I can't keep up with the orders.
Wow, that's a great response. Great problem to have.
Ministry of Education in New Zealand have said it's an awesome resource for their teachers and parents.
Wow. Phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine an entire country getting on board and learning the signs and showing more love and protection for these innocent children, because our future is hinged upon them. And we want healthiness, we want families, we want security, we all want that love. And to have a prevention guide to help allow the children to be kids and parents to protect and other adults to protect really allows the society to function at its best. So
I'm so
fantastic.
glad that you said that, because to me it's not on a child to protect themselves. That belongs to the adults around them. So
Yes.
throughout the book, this is a roadmap. So it's a GPS directed system you'll go through, and you'll come out the other end. But your roadmap will look different, say, to Kathy's, because you might have already done a few of the things that are mentioned, or you may decide to do a bit more exploration on some aspects of it. So we cover off grooming, we cover off online sexual abuse, we cover off tools for parents, because parents need tools to navigate all of this. We cover off tools for children. It's not for children to read, it's for parents to teach their children. We need to communicate with the child. There's so much around this, but I love the fact that there's more attention given. And I had Kathy on the show recently, actually. So she was a great guest to have, and told me all about her books, the many wonderful resources for those dear wee children. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Gloria, in all of your wisdom that you have learned through the writing of these three books, what is something that you would like to share with the audience, with the world? What is a message that you want them to know?
If not you, then who? Whose job is it to protect our children? It's everyone's.
Very true. It is all of our responsibility. And if we can unplug from self and just look around, we can connect back to humanity, connect back to love, connect back to helping and wanting to be. There's something interesting before I finish that thought. So, as a teacher within the classroom, I feel a real sense of protection and wanting to help not just teach and implore skill to my students, but to really help them learn something beyond that can help them within the future. And while they are practicing, it's my responsibility to watch and in the safety of skinning knees and getting back up, that's part of it. But if a predator comes in, I'm not sitting back. Let's see how this goes. No, it is my job to step in. Um, Bear with me as I share a little story. So, February 22nd, 2023, we are in class. Class bell has rung, meaning it's passing period. The halls are full. I teach special education to, at that time, 22 students that have different variety of needs. Autism, cerebral palsy, you name it. I've got it in my classroom. It's passing period, it's almost finished, and a call comes over on the intercom on the PA to lock down now. Active shooter. We grabbed everyone we could who was in the hallway, who was in my room, and we shut everything down. Drew the blinds. I had pulled in 10, I don't know if we want to say regular kids, but 10 extra kids into my classroom. And they set such a beautiful precedence to help my students feel calm. And as the adults, with all the practice we had, we stepped right in. I held that golf club. We barricaded the door. We did everything. And there was a sense of, not in my room. No way. We were going to do everything that we could. Now, thankfully, um, everything locked down. The police came in, they searched the hallways, and it all turned out to be fine in the end. And watching the reuniting with parents with their students, oh, it was just a beautiful, heartwarming thing. So many rose to the call, went to protect. Again, there was not an active shooter, but within the phone call and alerts that went out, it looked like it was very possible that this was happening right on the campus. When they discovered it wasn't, we all come down a level, but I watched parents embrace, and things were I would say were focused where they should be. Now, I know your books are not about that type of a situation, but the implementation of wanting to protect another human being, especially from something as tragic and gross as sexual abuse, has the same application. And so your willingness to share a story, to show a guide, and now to help protect kids is truly powerful because, like you said, say that again for me.
If not you, then who?
And so it just starts with yourself. So I am so appreciative of that. And thank you so much for being a part of the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. It's been just a beautiful time to have you as a guest. And let's remind everyone that you can go, as you see running on the ticker underneath, to gloriamasters.com. That is her website, and you can get any of these books there. You can also order them from Amazon. And you said that at least one of the books is audio, or all of them, or how does that work?
All of them. So all
All
of
of
them
them.
are
Okay.
are in all versions here.
Awesome. So this is the first book, On Angels' Wings. The next book is Fight, Flight, Path to Healing. And finally, keeping kids safe. Thank you so much, Gloria. And for anyone out there who might be a survivor of sexual abuse, you can contact Gloria. Tell us about your YouTube channel and how your podcast helps other survivors.
Yes. So you would like me to do that?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So my podcast began actually because I noticed other survivors had heard my story and wanted to, as we do, feel that, oh, I found a like minded person. So it all began as these things do with one or two people. And then I noticed that some of the stories and the beautiful survivors sharing had similarities. And by that I mean whether you had a one off incident or experience that went over many years, what that evoked in you is similar to what it invoked in all of us. So there was a PTSD or post traumatic stress response. Now, even hearing that is that you end up feeling, he gets it, or she knows what I was talking about. And I think it's just having that relief of knowing you're not being vilified, you're not being ignored, you're not being made to feel like you're wrong or that you're disbelieved. Because I think that's the difference with child sexual abuse. Most good people don't want to believe it. So all that does is give permission for the abuse to continue.
Very true. So tell us the name of your organization again.
Handingtheshameback.org. Because that's what we do, April. When we talk about the abuse, we're handing the shame back to where it belongs.
Yep, it's not on you. And thank you so much, Gloria. And for everyone who has been a part of this evening, we really appreciate it. If you have any questions, contact Gloria at gloriamasters.com. Grab her books off of Amazon, and we hope that all of you will have an enjoyable, blessed Thanksgiving. Count those blessings. They are a part of your life, even if it's just a pinpoint. We'll see you all. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.